president does read, and he also consumes intelligence verbally. This president, I'll tell you, is the most informed person on planet Earth when it comes to the threats that we face. You have Ambassador O'Brien, who sees him in person twice a day, who sometimes takes the upwards of half a dozen calls with this president. He's constantly being informed and briefed on intelligence matters. But I'm not going to allow the New York Times to dictate when we give top secret information and don't give top secret information. That's an untenable proposition.
Well, there then.
Okay, so he does read. Okay, well, look, he's on Twitter, so she's not wrong there in some ways. He gets it verbally. Well, they talk to him, that's true. But the idea that he or any president is the most informed, they have access to the most information, but he is not the most informed person about literally any topic.
On planet Earth.
Yes. It's just an obvious, like, you know what you're doing there. It's just a crazy exaggeration. Anyway, let's give you some of the information about that though. And we've talked about this previously, but so one of my favorite things is it's been reported that the US National Security Council mentions his name in every paragraph of their briefings in an attempt to retain his attention. And we know how this changed from, like long detailed lists of information that would be given to Obama to one-page summaries to bullet points about him, because that's the only thing. What if you're just listing, here's what's going on in Cameroon, here's what's going on in Iceland. Why would his name come up in literally any of it? Imagine how difficult it is to shove his name into updates on what the Taliban is doing.
God.
Most informed.
Yeah.
So there was that.
Trump-Qaeda has reemerged, and you're like, actually, that kind of fits.
Look, when President Trump was president, you didn't see crisis after crisis. You just didn't see it. I shudder to think about what COVID would have been like under Joe Biden. We've seen Afghanistan blow up, crime in the streets, you named it all. What would COVID have been like? Because I was in the White House when it was pretty scary times. We weren't sure if we'd have enough ventilators.
Yeah, it was pretty scary times. Didn't like basically all of you have COVID during those times? Oh God, what would have happened if Biden had been in charge? I don't know, would 600,000 Americans have died in a very short period? That would have been devastating. Can you imagine? I can't. She said there had been crisis after crisis, and it was so long ago, nobody remembers what happened back then. So I did a little bit of digging. By the way, so in all reality, we're gonna walk through a couple of these little crises. All I did was just think for a sec, what are some of the big ridiculous things that happened? You could do hundreds of these. But I recall a few crises, like for instance, when he suggested that we inject bleach into our bodies to stop COVID from affecting us. That seemed like a big issue. Now, it was a small moment in months and months of crises happening over and over, but there were other ones. You can go back a little bit further. Remember when they were like forcibly separating families just to convince people south of our border that we were so cruel, that whatever horrible situation you have in your country, it's better than coming to America. That was the message we wanted to send. Or, the time that he so desperately wanted to take this photo that they decided they would brutalize peaceful protesters, buzz them with helicopters and gas them out so that he could hold a Bible upside down and stare ahead like he had no idea what a Bible or a book even was. Or the time when the weather wasn't really going the way he wanted, so he decided, I say where the weather's going, so I'll Sharpie a weather map. Look, these are not necessarily even the most devastating and substantive of crises, but you cannot pretend that there wasn't crisis after crisis after crisis, because it was constant.
Well, this is an indication of the way that they approach things. Those weren't crises because they didn't call them crises. They just said that was Trump derangement syndrome for anyone who brought up all of those crises that happened during his administration. They brought up how he was acting. They brought up the first thing he did was completely go racist and go through some policies putting forward against any Latino immigrants.